Also want to give a shout out to Chantal Vallée and the women's basketball team at the university, Kevin Hamlin and the hockey team. What a job they've done. Even though they didn't get back to the championship, they still have a chance to go to the CIs. Good luck to them this Saturday against McGill. And what can you say about the St. Clair College Saints, the men's volleyball team? Just outstanding on the weekend, winning a silver medal. Congratulations to Rob Lynch and the gang there, and to the entire St. Clair College staff, hosting a tremendous provincial championship tournament. And Andy Kiss and the ladies team at St. Clair College, the basketball team, also going to the Final 8. So good luck to them this weekend up at Centennial College. That's enough shout-outs, I guess. Coming up here on WeTV, a couple of great events to make sure you want to tune into. Of course, next week, out at the St. Denis Center, also at St. Clair College, is the OFSA Quad A Basketball Championships. WeTV will be there for 2 days, thanks to Coach Chris Oliver. We'll be going out there on Tuesday. We'll be broadcasting 6 games on the Tuesday, March 10th, and then we'll have 2 more on the morning of March 11th. There you can see the OFSA Basketball Championships live from the St. Denis Center here on WeTV. So hopefully you could join us for that, and we certainly look forward to working with Coach Oliver and the gang there at the university and putting on a good presentation. Also, what else do I got coming up? I think that's it for this week. That's enough for this week, I think. Oh, the Westby Awards. That's right. That thing called the Westby Awards. I know a little bit about that. They're going to hold their press conference this coming Friday morning at 11 a.m. to announce all the details of the 10th annual Westby Awards. Of course, Coach Oliver, a former Coach of the Year from the Westby Awards. March 6th at 11 a.m. We'll have a live press conference for you. You'll get all the details on the 10th anniversary of the Westby Awards. Hopefully you can join us for that as well. Thanks, Christina, for the plug there. Let's get into it. We're going to talk some basketball today. The Windsor Lancers men's basketball team, just tremendous, on a nice roll right now. Is it a 6-game winning streak, Coach Oliver?
I think we're up to 7 now with the
7?
playoff win, yeah.
Okay, I didn't count the McMaster game, which shame on me, but they're on a nice roll going into the Final Four. Again, it starts this Friday. The Lancers will be in tough. They'll play Ottawa the first game. But you know what? I think Coach Oliver's got this team going in at the right time, peaking at the right time. Thanks for coming in tonight, Chris. Really appreciate it. And certainly, I know you're so busy right now with so many things. The OFSA Basketball Championship, taking care of your own basketball team, and giving us some time here is really appreciated. Okay, first, before we get into all of that, let's take a look at the season. I believe you ended up 15-5 this year.
Yep.
Ranked number 5 in the country. Won some big games. Lost a couple games that I know you weren't too happy about, but overall, pretty successful year.
Very happy with our year and very proud of our guys. I thought they did a tremendous job from the beginning of the year in defining our culture. I know we've talked about that a lot, but we've just turned over so much of our roster that there was a little bit of uncertainty about how good we would be early. But this group from the get-go was real good. We beat another Division I team, and then from there, again, undefeated in the preseason and got our ranking where it was, basically around 5 for most of the year. And now after beating McMaster, we're probably arguably number 4 in the country, although I haven't seen any rankings since. But we're going into a Final Four where I cannot imagine a more difficult Final Four with 4 ranked teams and all 4 being 1-4 in the country. And what a great opportunity for us as we continue to play basketball into March.
One reminder for our viewers, if you want to chime into the show, you're welcome to join us. You can tweet in at our contacts on Twitter. There it is, at SportsDen Live. And if I get a chance, I'll read some of the questions or comments you have for Coach Oliver, and we certainly would like to get you involved. You mentioned the turnover of players, Coach Oliver, and then I go right back at it with Rotimi Alcintula and Evan Matthews, the mainstays. Those guys obviously had to maybe even bring their game to another level this year to help those new guys, new faces in your lineup?
No question, and they've both done that. I mean, Rotimi should be an all-Canadian. Obviously, it's a political process, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. But
no politics in sports, is there?
None. But just a tremendous year. I mean, offensively and defensively. I mean, as good as anyone in the country as a two-way player, and some might say defensive player of the year as well. Not just in terms of what he's done on the court, but certainly what he's shown off the court is that that proper attitude, his ability to be able to mesh with the culture of what our team's trying to do, and certainly his desire to be able to define his own legacy as a player. And he's been tremendous in that way for us. And I think against the best teams we've played all year, he's been at his best as well, which is what you want from one of your best players. And
it's amazing. I remember him coming in as a freshman, and he had some other avenues that he could have taken, but he wanted to stay home. He wanted to stay close to his family. I think that all factored in him staying here in Windsor. Did he pan out, or has he developed the way you projected?
Absolutely.
Or maybe even beyond?
beyond, I think, at this point. You know, again, he had a great first year. He played a lot his first year. He started some games and he meshed in well with the group that he played with. And then I think the next 2 years he kind of had some ups and downs. And I think a lot of that comes to, you know, his development as a person and as a player and balancing all the academics and, you know, the social and everything else he's dealing with. But you know, he's put it all together this year, and you know, we're real proud of him. And you know, you mentioned Evan Matthews. I mean, there's a guy right away. I mean, if I'm someone in our community, I would hire him without even knowing what his degree is, just because of the type of person he is. And so much of what he's represented is what I would say I would want all my players to be as part of a member of the Lancer community, as a part of the Windsor community itself, and just how he carries himself as a person is tremendous. But you know, the underrated part for us is that him as a rim protector is probably the biggest reason why we've been so good defensively. And you know, you mentioned that stretch where we struggled. Well, not surprisingly, that correlated with Evan being injured. And, you know, he lost some of his conditioning when he sat out a few games. And, you know, he's back in fine form. And I had a number of people, well-respected coach, Coach Razzo, that used to coach at McMaster, told me after watching that MAC game that he thought that was the best defensive game Evan's ever played. And I would agree, and that's one of the reasons we're sitting here today talking.
Yeah, fair to say with Evan, maybe a little bit of a slower process to find his game at the OUA level or the CIS level for that matter? Well,
for sure. I mean, big guys usually take a little longer to develop, and you know, he played, like, he came in and played behind Nigel Johnson-Titer and Leon Phillip and you know, some real good players as well.
Good guys,
yeah, pretty good players. But you know, I think just from his background as well, where he didn't really have as high performance background in basketball, because you know, he played hockey for so long of his life that you know, he got into basketball seriously really much later in his high school career, and just, you know, got involved in club and some of the different AAU, again, not till kind of his last year or so. And nowadays most good players are playing AAU and club ball, you know, from 5th grade, 6th grade on. So I mean, for Evan, certainly there was a competitive part that was already there, which we didn't have to develop, which helps a lot. But in terms of the skills and the understanding of the game and you know, all those different things, it did take him a little longer to develop, but we're certainly benefiting now.
He's arrived, that's for sure.
He's awesome, yeah, he's been great.
Well, in putting this team together this year, Coach Oliver, then fair to say you had the two main parts there, the new guys you brought in or the guys that you had returning. How important was it for you to get those guys to almost fit in and with those two guys, rather than, you know, the whole 5 and starting 5 and bench? Is it based around those two guys and putting parts to fit with them?
Well, a lot of the responsibility falls to those two guys, and it's a great question because for us, everything's been defined by you know, our team culture and how well guys get along. I mean, ultimately, there's always ego involved in sports, and there's always competitiveness involved within the team because everyone wants to play and everyone wants to be successful. But at the end of the day, I mean, your leaders are going to define what that culture means, and we've been able to be competitive every practice this year without taking it beyond practice and without carrying it over to games, and I think that's been the real positive part and honestly the real enjoyment part of coaching this team. I've enjoyed coaching this team as much as any team I've coached in a long time, and you know, that has to do, you know, it's a reflection of those guys in leadership, but you know, from 1 to 14, it's all of our guys kind of buying into what we're doing, and you know, certainly they've seen the rewards because of it.
Yeah, you just completed, I believe it was your 9th year.
10th year.
10th year
yeah.
here in Windsor, okay. And there's been some tremendous accomplishments already. I think it was a couple of years after you arrived in Windsor. You're already knocking on the door for Ontario Championships. You do capture a Wilson Cup. The bar was set extremely high, and I don't think you'd want it any differently, Coach Oliver, but boy, oh boy, to have to coach and put that type of intense expectation in place every year. How tough is that for you to deal with now, or is it just something that you've adapted to, and that you know, you learn and with experience? Not that it gets easier; it's always going to be tough, but certainly you're able to cope with it.
Well, I mean, the one thing I've never been able to shut off is my competitiveness. So, you know, I would be lying if I didn't say that those expectations aren't relevant in terms of how I approach things. I mean, certainly every year we go into, I expect that we're going to be good, we're going to be ranked, and we're going to have a chance to be able to compete for a championship. And, you know, that's the type of program we've been able to build here. And as I was saying to a few of my players today, that again, I mean, I'm no genius. Like, it all comes back to recruiting great players. And, you know, all of us as coaches, I mean, we're much happier, obviously, when we're coaching talent. And, you know, it's a much easier problem to be able to figure out how to get talent to play together than how to get, you know, non-talent to play together. So that's been a consistency in the kind of the 9 straight years that we've been ranked in the top 10 has been talent. You know, we replace players. No, we redefine who we are based on who's there. And, you know, that's been also the beautiful part about it, you know, from Ryan Steer, Greg Allen, to Greg Cermak, to, you know, Isaac, to all these different players. I mean, they're all uniquely different, but we kind of redefine our style a little bit. We redefine kind of who we are as a program, and, you know, guys have bought into that culture throughout this time. But if you ask our guys, they would be disappointed if they didn't follow through on that legacy now, which obviously helps me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you speak proudly now of the program. Everyone should speak proudly of the program, starting with Mike Havey, the athletic director, to everybody that works there, and then around the basketball team. I guess, how tough was it at that point when you arrived, though, to instill that type of culture and thinking? Because it just doesn't happen overnight. And there were some lean years with Lancer basketball, as much as I hate to say that. There were some growing pains. Some things didn't go according to or the way that I'm sure many people around the university were hoping. And you really had to almost reestablish a new identity for the program. Fair to say that? For
sure. I mean, the first thing we did is we switched benches.
Ah, there you go.
That was it. That's why we're good now. It's that simple.
It's all in the bench.
But it's like little things like that to be able to say, listen, we've lost on that end. Let's try this end, and let's do it different.
Sure.
You know, it's little kind of things like that mentally to be able to change people's mindsets, and especially within your team. But, you know, I'd say the biggest thing was initially the leadership all fell on me. And, you know, I would tell you I was a lot different personality back then. You know, it was a lot probably crazier and a lot more intense. But because, again, like, I was fortunate. Coach Havey and Coach Osborne, who was the interim coach right before me, left me some pretty good talent. And there was talent in place there, and it was just a question of getting that talent to be able to buy into the reality that they can be successful in building that kind of confidence in themselves and confidence in being able to compete. And, you know, a lot of it is competitiveness, and a lot of it is getting them to understand technically and tactically that we're going to be able to compete because we're going to do these little things within our program. And, you know, again, it's not magic. I mean, every day you got to show up, you've got to put in the work, and you got to demand the same thing from your players. And great coaching mentor of mine told me a long time ago, he said, you're never going to be a good coach until you get someone to quit. And what he meant is not getting someone to quit for the wrong reason, but getting someone to quit for the right reason, that you're doing it so hard that they just don't want to invest that much time or that much passion into doing it how you're doing it. And I think that was the thing that we established right away. And I had some great players to be able to do that, obviously, with me, and the Ryan Steers and the Greg Allens and Rich Allens, and, you know, just tremendous people that were competitive and, you know, had that passion and just needed to be led a little bit in terms of that way.
So it all came together nicely. But one thing I'm sure that you realized, and again, you went through a pretty solid apprenticeship as a coach. You worked with some tremendous coaches, getting you to this point. But one thing I'm sure you knew and realized right away was taking care of your own backyard and getting that marquee guy. We can go back to Rotimi on this one, you know, where he was heavily sought after, and you landed him. Getting those type of players from Windsor-Essex County. There seems to be always some pretty good talent coming out of this area. One thing, are you comfortable with what you've done there, Coach Oliver? And do you feel that Windsor is always their first consideration now?
For sure. We want to recruit locally. Yeah. I mean, it only helps me in the community. It helps our fan base, clearly. You know, we're going to get more people in the stands watching Rotimi and Evan Matthews and those type of players. And, you know, from a marketing standpoint, it's a no-brainer. But, you know, just from a ease of recruiting, and I know my wife and my family would enjoy it a lot more if I could just recruit locally all the time as well, because my travel would be a lot less. But from my perspective, I mean, there's always one or two players that, you know, certainly we've missed out on, I think, locally. Some of them we recruited, some of them we didn't recruit. But by and large, we've got very impactful players. And, you know, we start 2 local players and 2 very impactful local players. And, you know, at different times, clearly, throughout our time, I mean, we've had OUA All-Stars and different players that have been local. And, you know, I would love to do that more and more. And I think there's a great young group coming up over the next 2-3 years as well locally that academically and talent-wise are able to play at our level. And we're excited for that, and that's one of the reasons why OFSA is such a benefit to us. That you know, St. Anne's is going to be playing, and Holding Names has a chance tomorrow night to be able to win a berth in as well. So got that opportunity to be able to have some more local teams in front of us in OFSA.
Before we go to the break, Coach, one last question, talk about the team in the year. I want to talk about the women's program quickly, briefly. Chantal Vallée, obviously great success. How does that success help you and your team? I would imagine it keeps some motivation there, or it adds to some of the motivation, and certainly, again, you put the identity of the university, the basketball identity. You and Chantal have been ranked number 10 in the top 10 for years now. All that's got to be pretty nice, but there still has to be that pretty good competitiveness between you and Chantal.
Well, I don't know about
I mean, a respectful competitiveness.
Well, and I think, I mean, all of us as coaches are competitive, and we're competitive within our programs. And the beautiful thing is, I don't have to coach against Chantal. I have to coach against Dave Smart and you know, James DeRune and different programs like that throughout the country. So it's been awesome. It's awesome to watch their success. It's awesome to watch, you know, track and field success, hockey success, obviously. You know, I think all but one program made the playoffs this year. So, like, talk about an environment that keeps you on your toes. I mean, there's no question that that's what Lancer Athletics was built up to under Gord Grace, and now obviously continuing under Mr. Havey. And, you know, what a great environment to show up in every day, to understand that, hey, if you look around and you go, okay, well, this is what Chantal's doing, this is what Coach Hamlin's doing, this is what Coach Farrell's doing, and you're going, all right, what am I doing? And you're right, it is a great motivator in terms of understanding that, you know, one, you can be successful. And quick story, but I think one of the main reasons I came to Windsor in the first place was Coach Farrell telling me when I came down here about some of the things that he did to be successful while he was there. And I looked around and I said, well, track and field's been incredibly successful, and I'm going, well, why can't men's basketball be the same? And you know, that was great for me to be able to see that another program had done it, and you know, in a way showed the way to our success.
Well, you've created a pretty good path already, Coach, that's for sure. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk to Coach Oliver about the upcoming Final Four tournament up in Toronto. We'll get his thoughts about that, and hopefully talk about this team winning a CIS championship soon. That's all coming up right here on the Sports Den.
It's not just about hockey. It's about getting your great education too.
Academics are equally, if not more important than athletics. The Hockey Canada Skills Academy is a great opportunity for any student athlete to live their dream and chase their passion. It gives them an opportunity to get a workout in the morning, they're physically and mentally engaged, and it helps them as a student as well throughout the day. Our program is not just for the elite athletes, it's for everyone.
Adding new products or services to your brochure? Updating those drab business cards? Or looking to create a striking window display? In need of some screen-printed signs for that construction site or promotional campaign? Posters, vehicle wraps, and a whole lot more. At Angel Star Digital, our expert design and production team are ready to meet all your promotional needs. For samples of our work, check out our website at www.angelstardigital.com. Or you can call us at 519-969-0712. That's 519-969-0712.
Hi, I'm Ed Jovanovski. Watch us on WeTV. We got you covered.
Welcome back to this edition of the Sports Den Live, a special edition, that's for sure. We're going one-on-one with head coach Chris Oliver of the University of Windsor Lancers men's basketball team. Before you go back to Coach Oliver, a quick reminder, coming up here on WeTV, the OFSA Quad A Basketball Championships will take place next week at the University of Windsor St. Denis Center. Let's get out, support this event. It's going to be outstanding basketball, and we will be there for a couple of days. On March 10th, we'll have the first 6 games, and then on March 11th, we'll have a couple more games. There's also games going on at the St. Clair College Sportsplex, so the Lancers and the Saints teaming up to do a nice job. I love seeing that stuff in our community, and certainly it's being led by 2 great individuals, Coach Chris Oliver from the Lancer program, and of course you've got Andy Kiss over at St. Clair College, along with Matt Devon and the entire St. Clair College people working with the Lancers. So I really love to see the communication going on there, and good stuff. Again, if you want to get in, we've got about 10 minutes left in the show. There's been a couple of tweets come in, but I don't want to interrupt Coach Oliver. I love talking to this guy, and certainly we want to get his say out there. But we'll try to get to a couple of tweets. But if you do want to get on, send a tweet. There you see the address, contacts at Twitter at SportsDen Live. And I will try to get a couple of reads in before we do get out of the show. Coach Oliver, let's get into this Final Four. I mean, you talked about the top 4 teams, Ryerson, Ottawa, Carleton. obviously, you've seen all three of these other teams. As much as I hate to say it, you probably are going in there as the underdog.
Well, there's no question we're the underdog, and you know, that's fine with us. I mean,
Yeah.
we feel we're playing really good basketball this time of year, and you know, we feel like, you know, Ryerson, we played them early in November. We struggled against them, and you know, they blitzed us when we were up there, and you know, Carleton we beat, and Ottawa we had an opportunity to be able to beat, but you know, we know those three teams. I mean, again, I cannot imagine a better Final Four ever in Ontario than those three teams. And we feel we're not that far behind in terms of that. And obviously, any given day we can compete. And we showed it going into McMaster and winning that, you know, we can be tremendous and we can have that opportunity to be able to get a win.
How much does a win like that against McMaster, Coach, help you get ready for this Final Four tournament?
Well, normally you'd say it would give you a lot of momentum, but I think we've discussed it before that with my group that I'm very concerned about them in terms of how they deal with success. I'm never worried about this group in terms of responding to adversity. They're a really, really resilient group. They, you know, they show a great determination to be able to respond when something doesn't go their way. But you know, they've had a hard time somewhat dealing with success because they go through a whole week of people telling them how great they've been. And it's like, well, you got to shut off the noise in that way, just like when someone's telling you you're doing a poor job, that you got to shut off the noise. And we've had that conversation many times. We had that conversation after the Carleton-Ottawa weekend. And we hope that, you know, the major thing is that from history, we learn not to repeat it. So we learned that we have to go into this Ottawa game and have the same mindset that we had going into the McMaster game.
I think the concern, I know I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was, I want to say it was against York, where a clunker. It was a clunker.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I can remember how you were disappointed, and you had mentioned to me at that time that at times it was hard to figure the guys out. And of course, as a coach, that's your job. You got to figure out and when to know to push those buttons, things like that. What does bring something like that on, and have you had a chance to figure these guys out?
Well, I don't know if I ever truly figure it out, but you know, what brought that on, I think, again, was that kind of that week of beating Carleton is so significant, and you know, it's a tremendous compliment to them that you know, people are telling our guys all week about how great they are, and you know, all of a sudden you have to come down off that mountain. You've got to be able to play a game, you know, and everyone in Ontario is capable of being able to beat us, and if you don't show up offensively or defensively, then you're going to get beat. In that game, we didn't defend at all, and you know, York had a tremendous game, and they had that opportunity to be able to beat us on our court, which again is even more disappointing because obviously we like to protect our home court. But well, what did we learn? Well, I don't know how much my team wants me to share this, but we went up to McMaster on Friday, and on Saturday, instead of shooting around, we actually went bowling. And we had about a 40-minute one-game bowling, and just had the team together, kind of being good teammates and being competitive with each other. And we kind of learned that when we were up in Algoma, and we had an opportunity to be able to go to Mike Rock has got some family up there, and we went over to their house for a pregame meal, and they had a foosball table downstairs.
Nice.
And our guys got to compete a little bit in a different way and have some fun with each other, and there's just such a tremendous feedback from them about that we thought, well, what can we do to kind of bring that out of them again and bring that camaraderie to them to be able to understand again that we're all in this together. And I thought they carried that on through every moment of the MAC game where just, again, no matter what happened, they were determined to be able to be together.
You'll like this one, Coach Oliver. Bob's tweeted in. He says, good luck to the Lancers. Coach Oliver, you're the best. Hopefully you'll have great success at the Final Four this weekend.
Oh, I appreciate that, Bob.
Good stuff. You know, typical fans, I think, here in Windsor. We have just tremendous people that I know the the men and women basketball team at U have a tremendous following. I mean, you got the same people in the same seats at the St. Denis Center. You probably know them by name now and things like that. But certainly that's got to help the cause a little.
It does tremendously. And like you said, I mean, combined crowds, I mean, there's no better place in the country in terms of the men's and women's crowds. I mean, it's amazing what support we get from our community. And you know, it's one of the reasons that my wife and I, we love Windsor. I mean, we love being here. We love being part of this community. And, you know, everywhere we go, there's people that obviously are supporting us. And, you know, even those people that always have some interesting things to be able to add to the conversation, I value that so much because at least they've taken the interest in caring to the point of forming an opinion, whether it's good or bad or whatever it may be. I welcome all those. And, you know, we'll move forward, obviously understanding that we're representing a really wonderful community and a great university.
Okay, Ottawa, it starts Friday night. Boy, oh boy, talk about getting right into the fire. Not a bad place to go, though.
6 p.m. at their gym, and you know, for us, it comes back to we got to get back on defense. They're a tremendous offensive team, and you know, we got to defend every possession. But even more so, what we've been doing well over the last few games is we've really reduced our turnovers on offense. And again, I think ultimately, especially when you play against a really good offensive team, I mean, I can talk about defense, and you know I talk about defense a lot, and that's been a foundation of our program. But at the end of the day, we got to score. Like, we got to score to be able to win on the road in their gym. And you know, that's the one thing. I think the last 2 playoff games, I thought we created great opportunities, but for whatever reason, we didn't convert as consistently as I thought we could. So, you know, we'll give our guys some freedom to be able to play a little bit on offense, and you know, the result will lead to hopefully some points.
How does getting into this Final Four how different is it, Coach Oliver? The intensity level and just the pressure that, you know, is maybe even during the playoffs. Like, you just beat Toronto, you just beat Mac. Those are obviously very important games to get you to this. Is it different at this level, though? Is it different getting into this Final Four?
It's different because I've never been on the road against the number 4 team in the country in a quarterfinal and had to win a road game like that. And you think sometimes that should be the final, or that should be a semifinal, but that was just a quarterfinal. So, you know, I guess the one thing we can say about our guys that we should get confidence from is we're certainly battle tested already. And you know, these teams we're playing against have really only played 1 playoff game, and you know, they've blown out all those teams that they played. So, you know, we've got that opportunity to build on the success, build on the understanding that we have been road warriors, and we have that that mentality of going forward.
How do you? I don't want to ask a prediction from you, Coach, but obviously you're expecting to win against Ottawa, and that's no disrespect to Ottawa. You got to go in expecting to win these things,
For sure,
or else you shouldn't be there. How do you see your team finding ways to win then, to put all the finishing touches on a Final Four championship?
Well, and you said it. I mean, I don't think I've ever coached a game in my life where I didn't think we were going to win. So, you know, you find a way, you find a game plan, you find the belief in your players to be able to believe that going into any game, no matter what the odds are for you or against you. And, you know, for us, the little things that we keep hitting home to our players are obviously those details that anyone that's watched us this year certainly understands, and that's finishing, you know, the easy baskets around the rim, free throw percentage, which has been a bit of Achilles heel this year. But we have shot it a little bit better throughout the playoffs. We've got to be able to make free throws, and then we've got to win the rebounding battle. And, you know, when we beat Carleton, beat Mac, we won the rebounding battles. So we know playing these top teams that if we compete on the boards at the level we can, that we have an opportunity to be able to defend well enough to be able to get enough possessions on offense to be able to score. Okay, I'm going to do word association with you, Coach. I got 1 minute left here. Okay, what word association? One word, Carleton Ravens. Legacy.
Okay, Ottawa GGs.
New power. That's 2, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. It's one thought. Ryerson Rams.
Kicked us.
Ouch.
I know.
Okay, Windsor Lancers.
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited. Okay. I mean, I'm so excited to see what this team can do. And, you know, like I said, I think I've said it many times about my enjoyment in coaching this team. But it's just, we're blessed to get another opportunity to be able to play, and we're blessed to hopefully get 2 more weekends out of this as well.
Our fingers are crossed, Coach. Really appreciate you giving us some time here tonight. Really honored to have you at our studio. Wish you the best of luck. If you want to follow the Lancers, you can go to OUA TV and follow the Lancers. Give them some encouragement. You know, let's get these guys, let them know, even though they're in Ottawa, that people in Windsor are still here with them, okay? Coach, best of luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. It's an honor.
Coach Chris Oliver of the Windsor Lancers, set to go with the Final Four. We wish him the best of luck. Come back next Tuesday. We'll do another Sports Den live for you. Until then, this is Dominic Papa wishing you a great week. Thanks, and take care, everybody.